This is from Iran International, 2023. IRGC commander repeats threat to kill Trump and Pompeo. I remember this story. It was really big after the killing of Soleimani. Iran was like, we will get revenge. We will kill Trump. I thought this was, fairly common. They say that Amirali Hajizadeh, the head of the Revolutionary Guard's Aerospace Force, spoke of Iran's often repeated threat to avenge the killing of Qasem Soleimani, Tehran's top military intelligence operator in the Middle East, saying we are looking. He went on to give a threat that he wanted to kill Trump. And then you just pull up this guy's Wikipedia page, and he died on the 13th.
You know how?
He was killed in those strikes.
You know how? Yeah, he was killed. Yeah.
Israeli airstrike in June of 2025. Yeah. So I thought this was, this is not a statement of what the U.S. should or should not do, but the argument that Iran's top officials were like, we will have revenge for the killing of Soleimani, I thought was fairly common knowledge.
And I really think that if you take Islam out of the equation, then we would be having an entirely different conversation. And I think that's the conversation that I see most people having. And
so, Karys, are you willing to accept a diplomatic solution to this conflict that leaves Khomeini in charge of the country?
100%. However, I believe that if that diplomatic solution allows for any sort of future, like in 20 years, if Iran can develop another bomb, which is a very real possibility with a diplomatic solution.
What do you mean another bomb?
Then we're just going to do it. If they are able to enrich uranium to 60% purity, at the 90% threshold for weapons grade material and have 400 kilograms of uranium again, then to me, I think that just shows that we were naive. However, if that doesn't happen, then yes, a diplomatic solution is 100% the right way to go. It just depends how much you are prepared to verify and to essentially keep your guard up. But I want to just address a point you made about before, which is a really good point, that if they're already such a threat, like you were saying, I can't even remember the point you were making, but in response, I wanted to say that if
Iran is such a threat, then it doesn't make sense to make a deal or to do limited airstrikes.
Right.
It makes sense to do whatever it takes to nuke them or to facilitate a regime change.
That's exactly why I think that should also be on the table. I think that all those solutions should be on the table. Look, if Iran actually surrenders, not is ready to negotiate, not is ready to, pause their nuclear program and shut the doors.
What do you mean by surrender?
But actual surrender. Give up their thousands of centrifuges, okay? Destroy them. Destroy their centrifuge. What?
How would you know if they did?
Well, it would have to be overseen by the IAEA or.
So you're saying like foreign security forces in some capacity would need to physically enter Iran and then oversee the actions that they're taking.
Yeah, that's what the IAEA does.
What if they have secret facilities no one knows about?
Well, that's a very real possibility, and that's why they essentially need to have a level of transparency that, to me, is very, very, very difficult to get, which makes the diplomatic solution very difficult to achieve. They might have centrifuges in other places, but I mean, we know that the whole reason that Fordo is 300 feet underground is precisely because it was covert and it was in violation of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, which the IAEA
and because
found
they don't want to get bombed by
they wanted to specifically
PB-57s.
Exactly, it was literally because they knew about bunker busters and they said we have to build it in such a way that the U.S. cannot do anything about it.
We destroyed Iraq's nuclear facilities in 1991 because they were above ground, which was the impetus for them to build Fordo 300 feet under the earth.
Yeah, exactly. There was a deep investigation into their nuclear program. Of course, they would want to do it in secret because they want to have a nuclear bomb.
What's the threat of Iran having a nuclear bomb?
The threat to the world, the threat to America, the threat to Israel. I mean, well, first of all, talk about I
don't care about the world. I only care about Israel.
If we're talking about blood and treasure, right? And the cost that a nuclear Iran would, like, the actual dollar cost of a nuclear Iran on America, it is, I mean, I haven't done the calculations.
But why? Like, what's going to
just
happen?
Maritime routes, transcontinental infrastructure. You try to get
what
insurance.
happens?
You try to get insurance and risk models after there is a nuclear Iran in the region. Are you kidding me?
But why? What are
Going
you
to
saying
be
they're going
so-
to do?
Because well, first of all, there's going to be an arms race. I mean, they've said it. Saudi Arabia has said it.
Pakistan's
The
got it.
UAE has said it. I understand, but so this increases the cost of things like insurance and the region, right? When you create risk models, right, for activities in the
Okay,
region.
I just got to say, are you
projects.
saying Iran is going to nuke people?
Oh, well, 100%. Well, you just said, are they going to? You said you didn't care about Israel, so
That was
put that.
no.
off the
I
table.
said I don't care about the world. I only care about Israel. That was a joke.
Oh, I thought you said I don't care about Israel.
No, he said he only cares about Israel.
I mean, do I believe they're going to nuke Israel? 100%. But look, I'm
think
trying
it's
to.
That's the question, because
Do I
everybody.
believe that? I believe 100% they will, because I believe when somebody says they want to kill you. Oh, like look at like North Korea. Like this is a perfect example. Okay, does North Korea have nuclear weapons? Of course they do. Is North Korea an ally of Iran and an enemy of America and an ally of China and Venezuela and all of those rogue states? Yes, of course. But again, North Korea, it does not have an annihilationist, expansionist goal that Iran has. North Korea
think North
wants
Korea wants
America
to-
destroyed.
You don't
but
think North Korea wants to own the entire Korean Peninsula?
I think they want to own the peninsula. I think that's as far as it goes.
Well,
If
so
you
then
have
why haven't-
regional-
I actually-
If
I-
you
that's
have
not
regional if you have regional ambitions, you also have to know your own capability, right? And so we can kind of trust North Korea to know that. But because Iran has all of these proxies, and because that's coupled with these dogmatic, religiously fundamentalist ambitions, they actually believe that they can carry out a complete restructuring of not just the region, but the entire world. I mean, we're talking about, over a billion Muslims, and even if like 10% of that are a group that is sympathetic to any sort of like Islamist way of life.
Can you be a little bit
And-
more? I understand.
You're talking about more,
am
than
not
the population of America here.
I think Iran
out over the world.
is an adversary, and I don't think they are some people that we should coddle. But to say that, letting, and I also don't think Iran should have a nuclear weapon. I don't think that's a good thing to hope for or to allow. But I think we should be realistic and concrete about the details in the actions that would be required to stop such a future. In my mind, there are two options to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. One is diplomacy and a deal. There was good reporting before the war started that Iran was willing to accept American investigators on the ground, which was something that President Obama didn't secure. So a deal that allows some sort of verification of their nuclear regime, all the caveats about how difficult that might be apply, or it is an all-out ground invasion that necessitates a change from the regime that you expertly point out is threatening America across the world.
Right. So you're saying war or appeasement. There's nothing in between.
I said diplomacy, a diplomatic solution.
But you know, I mean, don't be naive. I know you're not naive. You know that all Iran knows how to do is to cheat and to steal.
Was there any intelligence assessment around the world that said that they had a nuclear weapon before Israel started their airstrikes?
You mean like in 2003 when the IAEA came out with their huge report and discovered that like since like 1980 or since like the 1980s at some point, Iran had a completely covert like secret nuclear weapons program and was in complete violation of the treaty that they had signed on to?
Of course. And so I think a way to end that is a diplomatic solution that provides genuine transparency, right? Maybe we literally watch them close the doors to Fordo.
I don't think that's possible.
But they said Iran.
Then we got to go to war.
But the
I mean,
Ayatollah. Okay, there you just said it, because the Ayatollahs said They said over and over again, if you read the news, they said, we are not going to submit to Trump's terms for this deal. The term Trump has his head on his shoulders. He understands exactly what Iran would need to do in order for them not to be a nuclear threat to America. But those things that need to happen, Iran will not agree to. They said it over and over again. So what's wrong with Trump saying to Iran, okay, you have 60 days to try to make a deal. Mm-hmm. And if you do not come up with a diplomatic solution that essentially satisfies our requirements, then all bets are off.
I'm pretty sure that if we invade, we'll be greeted as liberators.
This is I think underlies a point about the debate. We're told that there is this limited option where we can take some precise action against a regime that is also a paper tiger and an existential threat to humanity at the same time, and then somehow avoid further entanglement, further military action. And that is, again, I think it's not, I don't, when I say it's not being honest, I'm not saying deliberately a deliberate lie, but I think it leaves unsaid and undiscussed the real eventualities of what happens when we think that we can take quick, decisive military action in the Middle East to achieve policy outcomes that are actually a lot more slippery.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.